All right, hello, Billy Hanson. How excited are you that your movie, Bone Cold, is coming on Blu-ray from Well Go USA?
I am thrilled. This has been such a long process to get here, and we really, I feel like we really stuck the landing in terms of, where we landed, working with Wellgo, and then Wellgo deciding to put out physical media. It's like best case scenario for us.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, they're very reliable. You see that on the spine of a Blu-ray, you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny when we were selling the movie and their name popped up. I
Hmm.
immediately was like, yeah, wait, Wellgo was a really good fit. Oh my God, that's perfect. Oh my
Uh,
God, wait, looking through their stuff, like, I love that movie. I love that movie. And I realized how well Bone Cold fit in that library of films. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's my goal now.
oh yeah,
And so I'm so happy to be working with them. They've been awesome to work with, really supportive of the movie. And like I said, we talked about Blu-ray and DVD in the beginning. In the back of my mind, I'm like, please, please, please put it out.
uh,
And yeah, it's all worked out, and it's yeah, it really feels like an accomplishment, to have it coming out with such a reputable name behind it.
yeah. I feel like it's like if your movie is streaming and then just stops streaming, it just no longer exists, right?
Yeah, it's a strange phenomenon happening
Yeah.
now, but like a lot of my friends, were making these little indie movies, and yeah, everyone's just suddenly at risk of their movie just disappearing because when they get pulled off the streaming platforms, the rights are still tied up in those same places. So
Right.
there's
Yeah.
not a lot of control over it, and it's a strange time to be in. But yeah, to have it, that's what I've been telling people is like physical media. You don't need anyone's permission to watch it. You just take it off your shelf and put it in.
And there's something about like physical media that I prefer. Like I collect some Blu-rays, and and I like to stream, but sometimes I'll go on Tubi or Netflix or whatever, and it's just like, oh, what do I pick? And there's so much it kind of means nothing to an extent, but like when you put your dollars and you scoop a Blu-ray, it's like this is mine. This is like I
Yeah,
have like an emotional attachment to this.
yeah. No, I love my Blu-ray collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't buy them as much anymore because
right.
I try not to spend too much money on it. But at the
Sure.
same time, I love, like, I will just go and like stand and look at my movies and be like, do I want to watch one of these today? Yeah, let me watch, I don't know, Seconds again. Yeah.
You're right.
I
Yeah.
don't know why that's the first movie that popped in my head, but
It's a good
yeah.
movie though.
Yeah.
The Criterion. Yeah,
Yes, that is the one that I have.
yeah, yeah, man. I same here. I don't buy as much, but they are very cool, and they can definitely hit the wallet pretty hard. But
Yeah.
back to your movie. The
Yeah.
movie is a very creative way to express PTSD. I thought. And have you talked to any soldiers who saw the movie and had some thoughts?
Yes and no. Like,
Okay.
from the beginning, as I started sort of cracking open the story and I realized what I was dealing with, I'm not in the military. I'm
Uh,
not from a military family.
right.
So I was very much out of my wheelhouse. I did a lot of research and I talked to a lot of people early on, and I just sort of laid the story out for them. I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I want to say. And they helped sort of guide me to make sure that I wasn't I sort of had three rules for myself in the beginning. I didn't want to vilify men and women in the armed forces. I didn't want to condemn the work that they do, and I didn't want to make them the monsters in this thing. So I sort of approached the story with that point of view, intending, to pay tribute to the people who have to suffer through this.
Yeah.
So their response from the beginning has always been like, we appreciate the effort, to
Mhm.
say positive things or to like be on the right side of this thing and to not vilify us, kind of thing. And then after, towards the back end, as we were finishing, we brought in this woman named Danielle Poblar, and she was a Navy comms officer. So she was doing this job. Oh, she plays the part of Angel, who's just the voice on the radio the whole time guiding
Oh
them out.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when we brought her on, I said, listen, can you just watch this with me? Well, let's go through this. Tell me if there's anything that strikes you as like horribly wrong, offensive, anything. Just hit me with it and we'll see what we can do. And she was really instrumental in like making sure the language of at least her part was right. We corrected anything with the guys. That's a very long-winded way of saying we haven't really shown it to many people in the armed forces yet because it's
Okay.
it's not out fully released yet. We've shown a few. We've had three different premiere screenings right now,
Nice.
and the reaction I've heard from people in the armed forces who have been in those screenings has been very much like, there are some little inaccuracies, but overall, I think we like it.
Okay.
In a general way, I think they've been like, okay, this is fine. That's really
I
it, though.
see. It's a little too early to like properly gauge like
Yeah, but one of the
full.
things that
Yeah.
we talked to Welgo about though was doing screenings for veterans. So
Nice.
we will eventually have that very direct response
Fun.
from.
Nice. Okay, so you said you don't have any military experience, you don't come from a military family. So what was how like what led you to the first kernel of inspiration to make this film?
The first thing was just really this image popped into my head of one man holding a rifle and he's running through the snowy woods and there's a very creepy creature in the distance, and that was it.
Ah,
So that was really stuck with me, and I was like, oh, there's a story in here, like what is this? And I started pulling it apart and I started asking myself who this guy was and what this monster was. And this story kind of grew very organically out of that. And yeah, it's just one of those kernels of an idea that just sticks with you and grows and grows and grows. And usually when that happens, I know that I'm like very inspired to do something. And it's a bit of a personal story too, in a way. Just sort of in the guy military thing, it's a very personal story for me. Um, just in the sense of I was in a position I really needed to get out of, and it wasn't really trauma based,
okay,
but
yeah. But trauma is like an over the top like expression of kind of where you might have been at, I guess, right?
yeah. I mean, it's a very exaggerated version of what I
Right.
was in love. Yeah.
Cool, cool. So tell me about writing. Tell me, are you like how detailed is an outline for you? And when do you just like start going writing dialogue, writing scenes?
My usual process is pretty like I sit down and I write fast. So
Yeah.
I want to I'll usually like at the first stages of an idea, I'll handwrite stuff just to
Oh
force the
wow.
brain to slow down a little bit and just
Uh-huh.
kind of outline some basic story stuff like, all right, this happens, then this happens, and then that'll cause this to happen, that kind of stuff. And then I'll sit down and do a little bit more of a detailed outline,
Mm.
and get into like more of the character arcs, and I'll start seeing kind of who's important, who are the side characters, and
Mm.
really what the main character's goal is. And then I'll do a more traditional like beat breakdown to really
Yeah.
hammer home the major story points, make sure that it's going to be, it's going to have momentum through the whole thing. And then I'll sit down and work on the script. And my first drafts tend to be very long.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. How many
and
pages
yeah,
was this one?
this one was like 120, I think. And then I
Right.
whittled down to, it was, I think 109 was our shooting script.
Oh,
But
okay.
even then, it just kept kind of going down and down. And I knew it would because, we made the film on such a shoestring budget. I knew some stuff we were going to some stuff, not just in production, in editing too. I knew we were going to trim it down. And Bone Cold was a little bit of a different process too, because we had such little time in the beginning to get it done.
Mm.
We had, I had the idea for this in November of 2018. And the moment we started putting it together, we said, if we don't shoot this now, we're going to have to wait a whole year for winter to come around again so we could go out in the woods. And we didn't know what that was going to mean for us. So we said, we were, idea in 2018, November 2018, we were shooting by February 2019. So I was writing and casting and pre-pro all kind of at the same time. I was literally writing scenes for us to cast with actors the next day. And so it was a very like interactive casting process for us.
Damn. So did you depart from the script at all while you were shooting? Tell me about that.
Yeah, we kind of had to approach it with the sense of like, we're going to get hit with curveballs. We got to just roll with it. So there was a lot of rewriting on set. And also because I hadn't spent the time that I usually spend rewriting and polishing a script, we were doing a lot of that like in the field with the actors and stuff. So there was one scene in particular in the middle of the movie where it's just after the big sniper fight and they're having this argument, and it's really like a crucial scene. There's a big turn in it. It's the two characters kind of clashing, and it's very much the two main characters are being torn apart. It wasn't right on the day, and I was watching this scene play out, and these two very good actors, it just never worked, it never clicked. And so I leaned over to the producer and I was like, Jacqueline, this is not working, right? There's something wrong here. And I realized the problem was the script. The scene just was too much. So we ended up breaking for lunch early. I secluded myself away and hammered out the scene again. I rewrote it, and then we came back from lunch and we tackled it. And I was like, okay, yes, now it's working. And now then the scene really clicked. So it was a lot of that kind of stuff. We were rolling with lots of punches at that point.
That
And
sounds
just
like a
like,
lot of pressure.
yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
high pressure. But again, like I knew that that's how it was going to be. So there were scenes. Another example for you, just a low budget, indie production. Uh, we had a scene that had ghillie suits written in, which are the suit that, like, it's the big camouflage, but like extreme camouflage. And it was going to be this really cool scene where you just couldn't see, the one character couldn't see John right next to him, and it was going to be this really suspenseful thing. But on the day, the ghillie suits accidentally got shipped to Los Angeles instead of Maine. And so I was like, all right, well, we don't have ghillie suits. Let's figure this out. And we ended up looking at this area, and we found there was a wagon that was buried in the snow upside down. And I was like, all right, he's gonna hide behind that. We'll figure this out. Yeah, it was a lot of that.
Yeah, you gotta think on your toes, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, everyone got really good at that. Ben Meredith and I, the DP, we we'd worked on music videos before, and those things were just go 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 go. So we got pretty good at just improvising in the moment and really, capturing the essence of a scene very quickly. And we were lucky in a way because we weren't hindered by a large crew or a location that we didn't have control over. Well, I shouldn't say we had control over the woods of Maine, but we had no control, and that was freeing for us. So we could just kind of make sense of it in that way.
And I guess it's probably a big advantage being a writer director. You know the material so well, you can think on your toes like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing my best to maintain the essence of the story that I was trying to tell. So it did allow me to improvise toward a specific goal at each point. Yeah, it was nice.
Cool. Were there any particular horror movies or war movies that you might have told people to check out as like references?
In the beginning, I always pitched it as Predator meets Jacob's Ladder, and so I was like, everyone should kind of be at least familiar with the for going into it. But yeah, I encourage people to watch a lot of David Lynch because I
Nice.
love the way that he breaks reality, and we do that a lot in this movie where things are real or unreal or both. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
And so yeah, it was. There was another one too. Just for visual style, we looked at the Revenant quite a bit,
Yeah.
and we weren't going to achieve that level of like mastery, but that was definitely an inspiration for us.
What about
Um,
the thing?
oh, The Thing is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we watched The Thing a bunch, just
Nice.
for practical effects too. We knew we had a couple of big effect scenes in this, and yeah, that's a huge inspiration, like suspense and the visual effects and stuff. So
Yeah. And the snow, right?
and the snow,
Yeah.
yeah, the snow is actually a really hard thing to figure out because
Oh.
talking to our DP, we really had to hone in on what we wanted the snow to look like because we didn't want it to overpower the image because it's very easy to let sun shining on a huge bed of snow or a huge field of snow. You're going to blow out the image. The snow is just going to be blinding white. So we really had to figure out how to rein that in and work that into our visual style. The Thing was a really good reference for that.
Yeah. Who doesn't like the thing? Come
I
on.
Terrible people.
We're not going to talk about those people.
No.
I really like the title too. Can you tell
Oh,
us maybe or give us like a hint of subtextual meaning behind it?
yeah, the title just popped into my head one day. I remember it vividly. I was walking down my hallway in my apartment and I just stopped and I was like, okay, Bone Cold. And I walked into the bathroom. My wife was brushing her teeth, and I just said, hey, I think my movie's called Bone Cold. And she just kind of turned around like, okay, great, awesome. But it really stuck with me. And I think it stuck. It took me a long time to figure out why, but really, it implies something really visceral, something really internal, really organic.
Hmm.
Um, and this idea of cold inside your body. That was really
Existential dread, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it really, there's a moment in the movie where the main character's just standing in a shower with like scalding hot water and his skin is burning and he comes out and says, "I'm freezing." And I was like, right there, that's why I want it to be called Bone Cold. That kind of feeling.
That's very cool. Well, Billy, thanks a lot for your time. I really enjoyed the film, and I encourage people to scoop up that Blu-ray. What kind of movie do you want to make next?
Oh man, I think my forte right now is sort of suspense. I
Mhm.
like this marriage of action and psychological dread. I'd like to do something in the same vein. I'd like to sort of do ideally, I'd love to do the Robert Rodriguez thing of El Mariachi and Desperado. Let's
Yeah.
do a bigger, badder version of Bone Cold.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, we'll look out for Bone Colder or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Thanks, but in the meantime, I hope people scoop it up. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. You too.